because as a country, that's where we need to be.
Exactly.
That's where we need to be. We need to stop and analyze and then move forward as one country and take our place in the global space. You know, you watching Mia Motley?
Well, me as a boss.
Listen to me. All over the world, you know, making sure that Barbados is that.
You know the beautiful thing about Mia is that she is always so great at getting her elevator pitches. Are fantastic. So in short spaces of time, she gets the entire message. All she needed
was 9 minutes 53 seconds on CNN.
That's what I'm saying.
No set a long talk. Speaking about no set a long talk, we are pleased to have on Zoom the CEO of Media Insights and Caribbean Media Monitoring Specialist, Alison Demas. Good morning, Alison.
Good morning, Lisa, and to your audience of TTT.
You know, it's so good to have you on the program. We had Christopher Granger on just now analyzing the campaigns of the two major parties in election 2020. And while research is ongoing, you have also had research, you have results based on the comparisons for the advertising that was done. Can you share with us some of the results, traditional versus social media, for example?
Yes, certainly, Lisa. So overall, we see that the PNM aired approximately 9% more pre-recorded spots in terms of advertising, particularly on radio we're speaking about.
Which is what Chris said, from his observation.
Right.
So
Chris was spot on in that regard. But what was interesting is that in the final week of the campaign, we saw a huge surge in the UNC radio advertising, and they aired 46% more spots than the PNM during that last week of the campaign.
Right, and so, go ahead.
So we did some research in relation to pre-recorded spots, radio, television, as well as newspaper display ads during the period July 10th to August 9th. And what we realized is that on average, PNM aired 24 stations per day, pre-recorded spots, whereas the UNC aired an average of 17 spots per day during that period.
Right. So what does this speak to in terms of reach versus engagement during the period?
All right, so in terms of reach versus engagement, that's where we're talking about social listening, yes? And if we look at mentions of the parties, we're talking about their own Facebook pages, for example. We see that PNM was much more active than UNC, right? Adding an average of 10 more Facebook posts per day than UNC. But what is interesting is while the PNM were more active, the UNC tended to have more engagement. So by engagement, we mean like, how many shares there were, how many likes and comments. This is on Facebook. However, what's also interesting is that in relation to the PNM, their reach, in other words, how many people potentially saw their post, it was double that of the UNC. So it seems that the bottom line is, whilst the UNC's audience was more engaged on Facebook, PNM's audience had more friends, in other words, more influencers who were spreading and amplifying their messages.
Well, then that makes sense with what Christopher was speaking about in terms of the nature of the campaign, being able to drill down to the level of conversion and being more interactive in terms of how it was designed.
Yes.
So what is all of this? Why is all this information necessary, and to what use can we put this information, Alison?
Well, certainly, it's good to be able to see in a transparent way, like what were the seeming strategies of the main political parties. And it's also interesting to see, what type of messaging was really driving the conversations on social media. And another thing I thought was important is to point out the differences between the 2015 campaign. In that campaign, what was interesting, the UNCO People's Partnership, I suppose with the advantages of incumbency and having a longer campaign, they outspent the PNM by 2.4%.
Right.
All right. By 2.4, right? Which is a significant increase. PNM, we found, was more strategic. And I guess that was reflected in the results in 2015.
Yeah.
What we see now in 2020, we saw a slightly more even keel. So in terms of spending, again, based on open rates, we see that overall the PNM's share of investment in terms of traditional advertising was 56%, the UNC at 40%, and then all the other parties at 4%.
Yeah, but I think it always comes down to that conversion. So you can spend a significant amount of money, but it doesn't translate into conversion, and then
correct.
It's really just money down the drain. Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah. Well, Alison, continue the good job that you're doing. I know you've pioneered in this area of media insight, and no pun intended. Yeah. So thanks for the information and the detail with regard to the spend in advertising, both on traditional and social media. Yeah? All right. So that was...
Thank you very much, Lisa.
You're welcome. That was Alison Demas, the CEO of Media Insight and Caribbean Media Monitoring Specialist. Thank you very much, Alison. We're going to take in a few messages and come right back here on the Now Morning Show.